It worked. Hi, everybody. Adam Zambruski here. I've been trying a few different things. Anyways, my brother's going to be on here, Matt Zambruski, with Agile Game Changers. I'm Adam with Hospiamo. We're both with the Hospitality Industry Impact Initiative, a 501c3, brand new educational charitable organization. And I just tried this new. Oh, sorry, I had our friends there, or my friends, my one-way friends. I love those guys, Glenn Hausman and Anthony Melchiori with No Vacancy Live. I'll give you guys a shout out. I just love their show. They're like the Kiss rock band for me. You wanted the best, you got the best. That's you guys. So, anyways, I was just watching their show, thinking about this, our show here today, because it actually has something to do with what they do and what I do in the hotel industry. So, Matt will be here in a bit. We are trying something new also with uh, Instagram. And I believe we could say hello for the first time to the Instagram crowd as we are live. Um, I hope that it doesn't create any issues because um, um, it has to do with the muting of the site or something like that. It's kind of new. So, anyways, today this is what we're talking about. We got episode number 34. Very proud about that. Walter Payton, right? Number 34. Sweetness. We This is the People Who Move podcast, right? And so today's episode, we're talking about the people who move that we've had on the show in the past and the people that we will have on the show in the future. There's something that they all have in common, and the fact that they are in the industry that they are in, literally in, hands on, engaged, and they're members of organizations that support the industry that they're in. I'll give you a couple of examples, and that's why I was watching Glenn and Anthony earlier today. They had on um, they were sorry, it was a couple days ago. They had on Chip, who is the uh, president, CEO. Sorry, Chip, if that's not your title, of the American Hotel Lodging Association. Um, and they had on Chip, and they were talking about all the amazing things that the AH in LA does, and all the local state organizations. For example, I'm in North Carolina, and it's the NCRLA, the North Carolina Restaurant and Lodging Association. They kind of feed up to the AHLA. And so I would tell you, I don't know what their numbers are, but I've been a general manager. I've been a regional director of 25 plus hotels and been in this industry for a while. And I can tell you, I would think that there's not enough hotels and hotel owners that become members of that organization or organizations like it, such as the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau of all of the cities and states around the United States, and so many more other organizations. And the AHLA. This is not a commercial for the AHLA, but there is some very weird legislation going on across the United States that's really concerning for hotels. That are really, honestly, in my opinion, targeted at hotels. And I will say they're stupid legislations that are without the eyes and the ears of, for example, the AHLA. Sometimes the worst that can happen is that some of these legislations can go through and be approved. So they spend a lot of time on protecting this. One of those legislations is um, well, I won't go into it. It's the homeless situation in Los Angeles, and there's some legislation that would suggest that the hotel industry is going to be the savior of the homeless, which is a major issue, of course. But it would create more danger than solutions. And so it's not the topic of this. this episode. The topic is being in the industry. So that's an example of something that I watch and I listen to. Hey, there's my brosif.
Hey, sorry for the delay. Just got off a podcast and we were chatting.
That's all right. I've well, for the millions of fans out there, they get the benefit by seeing it again. I made a new countdown, bro, and you missed it. So
Oh,
I'm gonna play it real quick.
yeah, play it. All right, let's
Here it
go.
is. We'll start again. Here it is. That's not it. Sorry. That was one of here you go.
That's awesome. That's like the little birthday cards where you pick it up and it starts laughing at you or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to recreate that, and I did it all in Canva. So shout out to Canva. As you know, I've been talking about for almost every episode that I've been trying to learn Canva and do different things, and so that was like 3 different audio clips and another one, and it's embarrassing to say how many hours it took me to actually do that.
But what's
It
pretty
should
cool though is that is a custom Adams and Brusky countdown that's never been seen in the world before until now,
ever.
right? That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I'm gonna say thank you to the nominators of the Academy for.
Right. There's gonna be a best countdown in the Oscars this year, I think.
I think there should be. I will, bro. I was. It's funny. I left them on my screen over here, but it has to do with our episode here, talking about being in the industry that you're in, and
Yeah.
how do you actually be in it and not just be someone that doesn't influence or doesn't impact. And so I was watching. You might even know him because he's somewhat famous. But did you ever watch Hotel Impossible? When it was on TV, it was on for several seasons, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
I
But
don't think so.
it was pretty popular. Anthony Melchiori is a, you know, famous, a spectacular hotelier. And he was the host of that show. And it was kind of like a Gordon Ramsay thing where they went
Mhm.
in and or Bar Rescue, those other the
Yep.
shows, and it was just awesome. I watch repeats and stuff like that, and he's a really cool guy. I've never met him myself. I called him him and the co-host or the hosts of No Vacancy Live, which is, in my opinion, the best podcast for all of hospitality. And uh, Glenn Houseman, who I have met a few times, is the host with Anthony, and they just have an awesome show. They're on there almost like every day, um, and they're funny, but they're also extremely informative. And they exemplify. Again, I'm going to say this is not a commercial for them. Well, maybe it is a commercial for them. I think they're great, and I think that everybody that you're in the hotel industry, you should be checking out that show
Mm,
because they just had Chip, who is the chairman and CEO or president of the American Hotel Lodging Association. And in 45 minutes yesterday on their show, I made a post on LinkedIn. I reposted their show.
yep.
And I said, if you have any question about what's going on in the past year or what's going to be probably happening in the next year in hotels or even hospitality, just watch this 45 minutes.
Wow.
And it's really good. There are some. I was just saying here that I could have very easily gone off on a uh, diverged the conversation today around some of the legislation that's going on in
Mm,
the United States that's been, in my opinion, targeted towards hotels. Um, that if these legislations go through, it would be dangerous and horrible, not only for hoteliers but for people that work there.
mm,
It would not be a good thing. And I don't know who these people are, man, that we as in the United States have been electing into these offices, that have even thinking about things like this. For example, you want to hear a great idea? In Los Angeles, to solve the homeless problem, which is a major problem everywhere, right? They said, "Oh, we'll just give vouchers to the homeless people, and we'll just put it in the law that if so anybody with this voucher can walk into a hotel and say, "I want a hotel room,"
Wow.
and it's for one night. Now, you think about all that just for a moment, let that sink in.
Yeah, that's
But
not that's
I
a
mean, it's for one night. I mean, so these are not
doesn't
well
solve
thought
the
out.
problem. It causes an issue for the hospitality hotel owners and all this stuff. There's just a million things that are not good about that idea. The only benefit is the person gets one night.
What happens the next day when they have a one night voucher? You think they're going to check out on time?
Yeah,
They're going to be like, hell no.
there's a
And then you
million.
got police. Then you have to get the police in there to evict them. It's just ridiculous. But it's a very real piece of legislation that's going through the process of becoming a law. And if it weren't for the AHLA and their local organizations in California and county and city throughout the nation, like
Yeah,
we might not know about it and it might go through. You know what I mean? So there's also a bunch of other stuff, but like I said, that's not the topic of today, but it somewhat is because the topic of today is being in your industry. And so um, if you're either in or you're out, I don't think there's any way that you can do it on the fence.
hmm,
So I'm a big fan of saying that because I've been on both sides. I've been a general manager, for example, that I've had the local AHLA or statewide lodging association be like, "Hey, you guys should be members," and I'd be like, "I don't have it in the budget," and
yeah,
then I want to be a member. I want to go to the meetings. I want to be involved, but it's whatever, 2, 3, $400 a year, and it's not in the budget, so I can't do it, but let me call my owner, let me call my manager, let me call my director or and they're like, and then I have to fight for it. And I'm fighting for something that makes so much sense, but there's a lot of that going on. And so, uh, having been on the ownership side now for a little while, I'm able to make a difference by saying, yes, we're doing that. It's no question. Put it in the budget.
yep,
Hotels have to be included in that. Put it in the budget so that there's just no decision that needs to be made. And so I'm not on the fence, right? But I'm a decision maker, and when people are, I- I'm I'm motivated to get as many of those people from that might not be in the decision making, but are the ones that are in the industry
yeah,
onto the decision making side, right? And
yeah,
so that, and so um, yeah, I started thinking about the hotels. I started thinking about your industry, and there are some ways to be in your industry, right? And so I did think of our man Zig Ziglar,
yeah.
um,
Good.
and so because I tend to go off on a tangent sometimes, like I just did, I pre-recorded it. It's 3 minutes and 50 seconds, I think,
Let's do it.
but I pre-recorded a Zig Ziglar story called "The Railroad Story," and I think that you know what this is.
Yeah,
Because we're big fans of his. So shout out to Zig, such a big impact for us. So I'm going to play it, and it's just
yeah.
4 minutes. Oh, and there's a backdrop of my favorite things about the hotel industry, about what I love about the hotel industry, because I was talking with Chat GPT. I was teaching him uh, who I am, what I
Yeah,
love, and he knows my entire resume, everyone I've ever worked for, and all that. And so I said, based on everything that you know about me, what are the things I love most about hotels? And I asked for the top 10, and so I used Loom and with the backdrop there,
oh,
and
nice.
so I'll play it, and I'll come right back to you.
I'm excited.
Hey, I think this is working. Bro, I am going to read something. I'll just get to it because I think I just introduced it. Um, this is Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite stories by Zig Ziglar. And so I'm going to jump right into it. It's called The Railroad Story. And I'm going to read a little bit because I have it here in front of me. And also, I'm doing this, I think, with the backdrop of my 10 favorite things about the hotel industry. I had a Chat GPT conversation and was telling went through for several days, just saying, "This is what I love. This is what I'm doing. This is my company," and all this kind of stuff. And so, I hope you can see the 10 things that, according to ChatGPT, according to the conversation about the things that I love, these are the 10 things that I love about this industry and that have kept me in it for almost 30 years now. So, but it does have to do with the railroad story, and it has to do with the topic of what we're talking about today on our podcast. And it is about being in this industry that I love so much, and I know that you love your industry so much too. So I know that you've heard this before, but this is for all of our millions of listeners, right? And it's the railroad story that I first heard probably about 30 years ago by Zig Ziglar. And I'm going to read a little bit and kind of paraphrase. So it's in the 1950s, and a crew of railroad workers are laying track, right? It's really hot, it's sweltering, it's in the summer, and then there's two tracks. And so one of the tracks was already in existence, and a train came chugging up along the side of where these guys were working. And from one of the cars, the train stopped, and it was like a luxury caboose. And it said the president of the company. That was his car. And so one of the cars comes up, the special car for the president, and a window flies open, and a voice shouted out, "Dave! Dave Anderson, is that you?" And it was Dave. Dave was there, one of the workers in the field laying track. And so Dave Anderson was they were working with the crew, and he looked up, he says, "Yeah, Jim, hey, how you doing? It's me, Dave Anderson." And the man on the train, Jim Murphy, yelled out and said, "Well, come on over, come on inside, and we'll chat for a little while." So Dave stopped what he had been doing, and he went inside to join Jim Murphy in his private air-conditioned railroad car for about an hour. And then he comes out. And so the crew that he was working with naturally said, like, "Geez, who the heck was that? And how do you know him? And what's going on here?" And he goes, "That was Jim Murphy, the president of the railroad." "Whoa, that's Jim Murphy? And how do you know him?" And so they all gathered around and said they wanted to find out how Dave knew Jim. And so Dave explained, he goes, "It's quite simple." He goes, "When I started with the railroad, it was 20 years ago, and Jim Murphy actually started on the same day, and we started work together. And we've been pals ever since." And so now the crew was really confused. They said, well, they wanted to know how it was that Dave and Jim Murphy started on the same day 20 years ago, and how Murphy was now president of the company, president of the railroad, and Dave is still working in the hot sun on laying track. How did that happen? And so Dave looked up wistfully at the sky and said, "Well, a little over 20 years ago, Jim Murphy went to work for the railroad, and I went to work for $1.75 an hour." That's the story. Back to you, Matt.
That's awesome.
And we're back. Yeah. I always remembered that, and I always think of it whenever I think about being in the industry, being, and what's funny, and maybe you have an example of this too. When I meet somebody, which most of the people that we've had on the show, I get the same feeling from. They're in it. They are in doing things that they are of what they've chosen to do. Most of them, yeah, they're in hospitality and hotels, but we've had on authors, we've had on social entrepreneurs and
Yep.
PR executives and tax and finance and construction folks, architects and designers and HR people. So that's where I naturally feel I get most fascinated by people that are there. Now, on the what would you say is the opposite of being, successful, right? And working in an industry, but not being in and engaged in the industry.
Yeah, I would
What's the
say.
opposite of that?
Yeah, I would say from and so I think about this a lot, bro. It's a really really good question, and it's one of the first things I look for in interviewing candidates, or really in seeing if I can help somebody move forward in their career? Are they in it or not, as you say it, right? So the opposite, I would say, is if you have more of a fixed mindset, right? In our industry, we say growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Fixed mindset means this is what I learned yesterday. I still can do the same job I did yesterday. I was hired as XYZ role, and I'm going to keep doing the role that I've been doing. I'm good at the role. I've been successful. I've been doing it for 10 years, 20 years, whatever. I'm going to keep doing it. That's a fixed mindset. And that's the opposite of being in it today. 20 years ago, that was probably great. It was successful. But today, being in it is the growth mindset. And it's being hungry for knowledge and change. And I'll give you an example. One of my good friends, senior executive in a number of different companies over his career, super successful, and has been doing that, but also very hungry for continuing to get better. And recently we started talking about. He's like, yeah, I might go work for like one of these artificial intelligence companies and whatever and stuff like this. So I want to get more familiar with the technology. And I said, there's a lot going on with the technology right now. I said, you really got to dive in, and you got to like attack this like a person in the desert looking for water. You need to, 5, 6 years ago, bro, you wanted to have a growth mindset and you wanted to be committed to learning. Maybe you read a book or two a year. Right now, you got to, my opinion, you got to be in it, which means you're committed in your heart and your head to get better and adapt at your role, leveraging your expertise. But how do you take your expertise, just like you took all your background and you threw it into ChatGPT and you said, hey, what are the things I'm passionate about, whatever, right? And you let that AI supercharge and speed up your ability to see where you are today. But then it can start to give you guidance for where you're going next. So my point in saying all this is to be the opposite of being in it is not moving fast and not learning like a maniac. Like right now, the average adult doesn't read a lot of books after high school. That statistic's been out there, right? And to be successful, you want to keep learning, you want to keep reading, you want to keep growing. But now you want to do that times 100. And there's going to be a big gap. We talk about this gap, wage gap, all these different gaps of income earning and stuff. Right now, I see it as a continuous learning and adapting gap that's forming. And it doesn't matter what your background is, what your education is, what your race, your age, nothing matters, except if you're going to hop on this train and drive this train, which is your own train, to learn and grow and leverage AI and tools and books and stuff. Leverage it as a partner. That's your partner going forward. Right? The AI doesn't. Yep. I was just on a podcast and we were talking about how it's important to have the human factor, whether it's in recruiting or hospitality or interviewing or anything. AI doesn't do it alone. It can speed things up and it can help accelerate things. And humans can't do it alone anymore either. They could before AI, but now you're going to be a slow human if you try to do it by yourself. If you're just going to read your own books, it's not enough. You want to read a book and have AI read 10 books and then say, compare these and learn whatever it is, but just leverage technology, partner with technology. Don't worry about losing your job to technology because you got to adapt. Your old job will be taken by AI at some point. A lot of people. Your old job will.
Your old job, yeah.
Your old job. But your new job, like as a hospitality professional, it's very interesting. Your industry is a lot more customer facing and human to human contact is a lot higher. Therefore, it's going to take a lot longer for AI to really impact the human to human contact piece of it. But all the other aspects of your industry and my industry are being impacted tremendously by AI. Dude. So my point in saying all that is you got to be passionate about continuous learning, whether or not you read a book a year at $5 a year or whatever. Use AI as a way to help you accelerate your learning. And this is an everyday thing. Maybe you take your weekends off or whatever, but you want to accelerate. Like AI has a lot of benefits. Here's an example from a happiness perspective. Okay, this has nothing to do really with either industry, But and I don't even know if I told you this last night, but I went on AI Chat GPT last night, and I was gonna do something for business and whatever for a few minutes. But when I went on and logged in, it said we've just released the new GBTs, the new GPTs or whatever. And it's basically an app library that the OpenAI company and a lot of other people have been working on. And I went in there and I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. They're all different versions. It's basically, and this is why it's moving fast. So here's the fun example: increase the happiness factor in my house. Our granddaughter, Samantha, loves coming up to my office. She's like, you want a break? I'm like, yeah, I'm on a break. She's like, all right, I'm going to make a coloring book. So let's make a picture of some princesses and unicorns. So I go on Google, and my hack for the last several years has been princess unicorn coloring pages. If you type that into Google and go to images, you can find it, you can print it. Sometimes the shape, the size isn't right. You have to enlarge it, zoom in. You have to do a lot of work. Last night when I logged in, everybody else was asleep, so I couldn't really share it. But the GPT thing that was there, I clicked on it and I said, wow, one of their most popular ones is a coloring book hero app or whatever it's called. I clicked on it, and you can type anything in there, bro. I typed in, what I type in? I typed in monkey, elephant, princess, martial arts master, and hit the enter key. And then it starts generating. It takes about a minute or so. And then boom, a coloring page with that on there is done. And I hit print, and I print it out. And I print another one, I had like 5 or 6 pages printed out when Samantha woke up this morning. She was like, what's all this stuff? I said, oh, you got to see this new tool. So now, before, when she used to make a coloring book, it's a long story, but when she used to make a coloring book, it'd take us like a half hour in front of the computer to get like 6 pages printed out, because she has to pick an image she likes and stuff. But these are like high quality, unique images that AI generates.
Yeah.
That, just like you created the countdown, these are unique creations that AI use. And then she takes them, she colors them in, or we color them in together, then she staples it, it becomes a coloring book. So
that's an example of you being in it. Okay, so to come back to the topic, right? Because that's you doing something. That's not you saying like, oh, AI is taking over my job and taking over my life. I'll just go to Google and I'll print an image, or I'll drive to the store and I'll get a coloring book.
Right.
And you're not even realizing at that point, because that is the opposite of being in it. And you're being in it by being like, wow, I wonder if there's a way that I could use AI as a partner here. And that's what you came up with. The other one that I heard somebody, I wish I could give them credit, but it's a podcast that I listened to. I can't remember which it was, but it was somebody talking about the movie industry and about how the strikes were affecting screenwriters, the writers. And I'm going to paraphrase, but they said basically, like, if you're a great screenwriter, you could be affected by AI, because there's screenwriting apps or whatever, in AI that can write a script. Just like you can say, give me a coloring book, you could say, write me a scene about a guy being mad at somebody else and blah, 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 right? And they'll write the scene in the same format that a screenwriter has been trained to do, right? And he said, but the ones that are great, that are in it, like it's in their soul, they have already been learning how to edit scripts.
That's exactly
And he
right.
said, if you're not in it and you haven't even thought about what happens to my script after, and you haven't been doing that for the past year, 2 years, or 3 years, then start now. Or this might not be the right industry for you, right? Because you might not be following your heart, because it might not naturally take you there. And I do think somewhat it does come naturally, right? It'd be like you naturally love Sammy, right? And so you're like, I wonder how I can kind of advance this and that. You and I speak the same language in that, and that's it's a great topic for everyone to it's for every industry. And how I relate it to my career is that I have always had that kind of curiosity and, as you said, growth mindset, right? I
Yep.
really have. And even when I had zero experience, even when I had massive ambition and was stepping on toes and saying the wrong thing and trying to kind of move too fast and probably being a little bit too disruptive to individuals that I don't know, I probably sounded aggressive or something like that. But anyways, even during that time, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to learn. I was trying to grow.
Yep.
And so now fast forward to a few years later, if I have, 5, 6, 7, 10 years of experience, I remember feeling annoyed. And this is really important. I
Mm,
remember feeling annoyed by the same type of person that I was 10 years before that.
really?
In my early 30s, let's say, because I started as a manager, I was 20, right? Um, and so I had 10 years of experience under my belt. And I was thinking at that point, I was like, man, I got my shit together. Excuse my
Yep.
language, but I have, I have all this experience. And then, but I had forgotten about how I got there.
Yeah.
And so there's several people that I could name by name that are skyrocketed in the industry that are about 10 or so years younger than I am,
Yeah.
that I initially for a couple years, I probably thought that they were annoying. I
Mm,
mean, I didn't not talk to them, but when they were like, "Hey, what can you go over this P&L with me again?" And I would be thinking, all right." Like I'll go over this P&L with you. I thinking in my mind, um, he's a front desk agent
yeah.
or she's a director of housekeeping. Why it's going to take me 30 minutes it's going to take me so long to tell her about the details of a
Yeah.
profit and loss statement. But very quickly, I think very quickly, I realized I was like, you know what? They're just the same way that I was, and that is how I learned. I learned by being annoying. I
Yep.
learned probably, perception wise. I learned by raising my hand. I learned by just reaching out and grabbing the things that I wanted to learn about. And I'm treating AI the same way. I have been, ever since that you called me and said like, "Have you heard of Chat GPT?" And I was like, "Yeah, I read an article about that." And
Yeah.
then for the past year, been jumped in head first, and it's created a lot of opportunities for both of us. So
Yeah.
um, what I have on our list here also, because it is aligned, it is something that you also introduced to me that I've been jumped into head first. This is something that I think have I showed you this?
You haven't shown me this before. No. Oh, yeah. We talked about this, but I haven't seen any official presentation.
Um,
We did talk about. I'm a huge Ikigai like fan. I've
I
listened to the
know.
audio multiple times, and it overlaps with the Blue Zone documentaries and stuff that are out there. And yeah.
So the reason why this popped in my head when I was writing this kind of just the description of what we're going to be talking about is it goes back to what we were just talking about the natural ways that people do get engaged in an industry by not just doing your job, but just by I really like this,
Hmm.
and so I'm going to keep on doing it even, and that's what gets us through the bad days, right? That's what gets us through some of the challenges and to help us overcome it, rather than just being an onlooker, um, getting a paycheck, as I might call it, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, you had suggested Ikigai a long time ago, and then I got the book, and then I read the book, and so we have you and I are both on the board of the Hospitality Industry Impact Initiative, right? And
Yep.
so this is for anyone that wants to go on our website. This is on our website, the Ikigai framework, and so Matt taught me about it, and we shared our stories. I went through a few like free Ikigai tests that you can do, so I would recommend it to anybody. Let me know, and I can help you go through it if you'd like. Um, so I went through the test, and it's awesome. There's one on. I, I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was really cool questions. It was like, would you rather do this or this? Would you rather
Yep.
do this or this? If you had an opportunity to be great at this, or this, which one would you pick?
Yep.
And so, ikigai, to back up for our millions of fans out there, iki means life, and gai means meaning, um, or purpose, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so it's your life's meaning. It's what we're doing here on our this big magnet that we all live on.
Yeah.
Um, and so I won't go into the whole reading it, but it's that's what ikigai. It's a Japanese framework. The essence of ikigai is that, and so how I have interpreted it, and this is what I take through some of my mentoring relationships, some of the folks that I mentor, and it's to start with this one here, where I don't know if everybody can read it, but it's after you go through this with an open mind, you want to make what it's going to tell you is that confidently, these are the things that I love.
Hmm.
These are the things that I'm good at. This is what the world needs. And this is what I can get paid for.
Yep.
And I found this fascinating because I think anybody listening and watching, and you and me and everybody, we can think about times in our life that we were getting paid for something that we didn't love,
Yep.
or we were getting paid for something that we weren't really good at, or we were really good at something and we weren't getting paid enough for it. But
Yep.
when it's centered around the love, like if you're really enjoying it, if you love something and you become good at that thing, wow, that's two. And then if it's something that the world needs and you're making an impact on the world and it's something that you can get paid for with a job or a company,
Yep.
it's a life. That's your meaning in life and coming together as one. And so reminds me of The Alchemist also. And so
Yep.
this was mine. So I went through it and I did this on my own. I decided to offer a nickname to I wanted everyone to think of a nickname for themselves after they did this with me in the HI3
Yep.
Hospitality Impact Initiative. And so after I did this, what I found out about myself is that I do like to be in things. It's what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
And profondo is Italian. That's named for our mom,
Yep.
right? And it means deep.
Mm.
It means deep. And so this is my actual ikigai that I'm more than happy to share with anybody. Um, you know what it actually suggested that I do? That it suggested that I go into post-secondary art, drama, and music teacher.
Very cool.
Isn't that amazing?
Like
And
Mr.
so,
Holland's Opus.
yeah, there you go. And and it goes through why I'm in the industry and what I'm doing. It's because they know that it's with the Hospitality Impact Initiative, I was following my ikigai without even knowing that I was, because that's all about teaching and education.
I was going to
And
say, yeah, HI3 is a lot about teaching.
HI3 is all about teaching and education. And so I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then it goes through some of the things that I love. They name me a creative humanitarian. Uh, it, I'm an innovator who seeks interesting relationships. I'm a relaxed leader,
That's
which
your
means that I love being responsible for a project, making decisions, and inspiring people to be part of a team, having a good time and enjoying myself while performing a given task. My leadership style is here: democratic decisions. I'm people oriented, laissez faire procedures. I do like to kind of break the rules every now and again.
Yep.
Transformational goals that are very big. And then it tells me, actually gets down to like what the world needs, right? So it said that I should think about education training as a career. These are my communications teacher, philosophy or religion teacher, post
You can be a
secondary.
monk. You can be a monk.
English teacher. So it was a lot about teaching, right? And
Yeah.
then it goes on to say these are the schools. If I was 17 or 18 years old, or anybody, I shouldn't say that, but
Yep.
these are the schools that are aligned with the things that I love and the things that the world needs
Wow, that's cool.
for art and design. Um, so it really is suggesting that I get into the art and design, which, honestly, that has to do with making the countdown. It's all the same stuff. It's
Yeah.
creating something in Canva for the first time, and it's all about what we talk about on this podcast. It's the people who move, right? It's these
Yep.
um, and those are the people that inspire me and that I want to be around. And so, um,
I'll put another level on that, bro, just because
yeah,
I know you well. We've known each other for 47, 48 years, whatever, 49 years. I don't know how many years it's been, but we've known each other for a while. So
49 and a half, bro. I turned 50 this year.
49 and a
That's
half.
right.
So it's your big
This is
year.
my, yeah,
Exciting.
that's, I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
It is 2024. You're right. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'll put another level on this just to see how this sits with you. I agree with what it says. And if you put, because when I think of art and teaching and music and philosophy and all those different things, I would think of art with the people. So if you add people into there, because what like with HI3 and with what you do in hospitality, and I do this in the tech space, and in other corporate areas in the agile space as well. It's like I I'm an architect of the people getting to the right places in the organization so they can make the most impact for their careers and their journey, but then the greater whole succeeds better. Like I think a people architect or whatever you call that thing is where you go, right? Because you know people, you know how to bring out the best, you know how to find the talent for hospitality. And the other side of it is what you're doing with HI3 has a massive teaching component. There's a big design component to it as well. When you go into some of the new builds that are happening or renovations happening, you know, you've worked with a lot of architects, partnered with architects, right? There's a lot of creative design, and there's a lot there. So my point is I think it's spot on, but it's traditional ikigai results that it gave you are more textbook traditional based on what it knows. If you really know you and you apply the people side of it and you apply to hospitality, there's a lot of stuff that you're on track to do that sets you up for big time success.
There it is. You
There
guys
it is.
can go visit.
Hospitalityimpact.org.
The you're spot on. And when I do other personality tests or other assessments, right? Sometimes they call me an arranger, right?
Yeah,
And you know, anybody can twist words. What does that mean? I like to be the puppet master. Sure, you can think whatever you want, but it's more about thinking about where people are. And that makes me naturally want to live with them, right? Inside of their mind of
yeah,
wherever they are, right?
yeah,
And I think the art side comes in. And also, I will say, I think we should do things like this once a month, maybe once a quarter, because it's going to change, right? It's
yeah,
not that you change, but based on what you're feeling. And so I think the art comes in, which is the hotel industry's very common conversation topic, which is art versus science.
yeah,
Okay, so data versus feeling and things like that. And so
yep,
it's naturally has been a more and more divided industry because of that,
yep,
where the a lot of the art side is happening at the property level. That's where you're a team manager,
yep,
and you're dealing with guests. You're a problem solver. You're serving people. Um, the sales, the marketing, the I mean everything. And so I'm not saying it's all art, right? Okay, there's definitely a business side, and there's data, of course. But once you get above property, like I did, and
there's
I
more data.
away from the property, you start to lose that, and it becomes more science, which
Yep,
I absolutely love also, right?
yeah,
And most of the people that are in this industry, they love both.
yeah,
And you can't label someone one way or the other.
yeah,
I think the best ones like the historically Conrad Hilton, Mr. Marriott, right? I mean, these guys are they've had highways named after them.
yeah,
They've had schools named after them and scholarships and
yeah,
towns and roads. So you want to talk about impact? These guys were people.
yeah,
Conrad Hilton, I'm pretty sure, was married to Marilyn Monroe.
yeah,
So he was he was like one of the most famous people in the world,
yeah,
and putting hotels in from Turkey to Australia to the United States, wherever. So it was, but he's a art and a science guy, and I think that's something that is I do lean towards speaking to the youth because during these moments, because the idea of following your heart, as we say, or following the things that you love, I will tell you, you can do that in 6 months. You can find out what you love. You can become somewhat good at something that you love.
Yeah.
I was just speaking to a freshman in high school yesterday. He was introduced to another by our friend Nikhil.
Yeah.
Right, so he said, "Hey, you should talk to Adam because he's a mentor, and
Nice.
uh, this guy's not interested in hotels. He's interested in finance, right?" And so I was speaking to him, and he was asking about ways to engage, ways to learn, and we had a great conversation. And so I told him about The Alchemist. I told him about Ikigai. I gave him a number of different recommendations of websites and such that he should go through. And just in 5 minutes, I learned that this, and it wasn't even in person, it was virtual on like a Zoom, and I
Yeah.
couldn't even see his face. It was, he didn't have a video, which I prefer to see
Yeah.
somebody's face, but I couldn't. But just in 5 minutes, I could, in talking with him, he likes basketball, right?
Yeah.
He likes NBA basketball. We're in Charlotte. He's in Charlotte. So the Hornets. And so we talked a little bit about the Hornets. And then he starts asking about internships and like where should he go to. And I said, call the Hornets, man. Just
Yeah.
call them. Go online, send them an email. This is me. I said, if you want to, I'll write the email for you if you want, and I'll send it to you, and you can send it. You can copy me, and just start engaging. If you love basketball, and he goes, I also love cricket. He loves cricket, and I said, I can't help you there. I don't know anything about cricket.
Charlotte Cricket Club. Yeah.
But cricket's pretty popular here in Charlotte. And the so I was kidding. I didn't say I couldn't help you there, but
Yeah.
talking through all that, he really enjoys it. And he had I could tell he had a little spark in his mind. He's like, I didn't even think that was possible. I
Yeah.
said, man, the fact that you're talking with me, I'm 50 years old, you're 14 or 15 years old. Your friend has had a conversation with me. You don't know me,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that there's like 1,000 people just with me that I have met over the years. And I've said, if you want to give me a call, let's talk for 15 minutes. I might be able to help you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like helping people. So he chose to contact me,
Yeah.
right? And this young man, and I said, that says a lot about you
Yep.
because there's thousands of others that choose not to do that.
Yep.
So don't think that you should not do that to the Charlotte Hornets,
Yep.
right? Or the Carolina Panthers if you like football or whatever. Um and there's other things that he loves to do. And I said, just imagine working with or for, even if you're not getting paid, it's an internship or whatever, and just to be in that environment that you love, it'll just skyrocket your happiness,
Oh yeah.
and just you know, and so it's I want to go back to what you said earlier, and then we can start to wrap up if you want. About um, being, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was when we were talking about the railroad story about being like a young person listening to yourself. I can't remember what you said. I lost my train a little bit.
About the
That's it.
growth mindset with the
Yeah, the growth mindset of being curious and stuff. And
yeah.
so you're spot on because at some point, like I said, when I became 30 or so, I was a little arrogant probably and like
Yep.
shut off, right? And I was still curious, but I was kind of shut off to that next generation because for a little while I was, and then I recognized that, and then I kind of reopened the doors. And so um, there is the growth mindset of when you're involved in doing something in an industry. I mean, the hospitality industry is not even an industry. Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I'm like Mr. Hospitality guy, right, to friends and family and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's not even an industry. There's the hotel industry is not even called hotels. It's called accommodations,
Yeah.
right? So that's the actual industry. And then there's food service, and
Yep.
um, as it comes to jobs and the census and all that kind of stuff. So the industry is what you want it to be.
Yeah.
And I can actually say that I'm more in human resources than I am in the hotel industry. I'm more in, um, maybe I am more of a teacher or an educator than I am in the hotel industry. Who cares,
Yeah.
right? Even if you're working for a company that might not be in the hotel industry, and maybe you work for a payroll company that is selling to hotel employers,
Yeah.
hospitality employers, and you get to go out there and sell that software to them, and you get to go travel the world and visit a bunch of different hotels and meet with people. If that's
Yeah.
what you love to do, that's awesome. That doesn't mean you're not in the hotel industry. You're maybe you're a software engineer, but once you go up those levels, you start to understand that there's not that many. We're not that different in the things that we when we start having those conversations to ourselves of the things
Yeah.
that we love. You know.
Yeah, and I think it's good, bro. I'll tell you, I listen. I don't think I recommended this book to you yet, but one of my previous business coaches recommended it to me, and I was like, oh, I'll check it out. I don't know if you've ever seen the guy, but Naval Ravikant. Have you seen him? He got pretty popular in the last like
Oh, I've seen his name. Yeah, I saw. I must have seen his book
He's been
come
on
out. Yeah.
Joe Rogan and stuff. So he's done a lot of like Twitter. I'm not on Twitter much, but he was like big on Twitter, and he's just like a modern day philosopher, practitioner of just knowledge. He's big into science, and he's known for being the co-founder of AngelList and being a big venture capitalist investor with I think with Uber and maybe Facebook and a bunch of big companies. So he's made his money by investing in really good companies. But he didn't grow up with any money and stuff like that. But he's done a lot. He's like, as I say, be voracious with your reading, with your learning, with everything. He's like that. And you know how he grew up, which is very interesting, is he had a single mom. His dad wasn't around. They moved from India to the U.S. and this might have happened in India when this happened, but I don't know if it was India or U.S. But single mom. His mom had to work a bazillion hours. So after school, when he was like 7, 8, 9 years old, after school in his town, there was no daycare. His mom couldn't afford that. There was no after school programs like we have today. So after school, his mom said, go to the local library and stay there until 6 p.m. I'll come and get you, and then we'll come home, we'll do dinner or whatever. Because she had to work all day. He went to school all day. So then from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. every day, his whole childhood, he's in the library. So guess what he did? He started finding books he was interested in, started reading books and reading and reading and reading. He read like every book in the library. As like a little kid, he kept reading more and more. Imagine that, like age 7 to 17, you're reading books like all the time. So anyway, I say that because he's put up a lot. Yeah, that's him. And somebody else who was very impressed with him wrote a book called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant, where they took a lot of his interviews and his tweets and things like that, and they put it into a book. I'm sure they worked with Naval to get his approval and whatever. But it wasn't Naval who wrote it. It wasn't his book about how to live life. It
Oh,
was
but he inspired that.
it was all his tweets and his interviews and all these things.
Oh wow.
And then somebody read it. So I listened to the audiobook. But I say that because it's very he said a lot of things in there that are really important. Like you want to be a continuous learner. You want to, and this is like again with today's world, you want to like 10x all this stuff. Like if you were reading a book a week, now you want to do like 2 books a week or whatever. You want to keep growing. But what he said, and this gets to my point, is he talks about what you're talking about with Ikigai, which is, okay, you want to find something that you love to do, something you'll get paid to do, something the world needs, right? Something that's in your sweet spot and you're good at, right? So how do you find that? That's the question, right? Okay, you're 8 years old, you're 12 years old, you're 20 years old, you're 50 years old. How do you find that? And what he said, and he's a very logical person, and he's thought about this a lot. He said, the way to find it is through trial and error. This is a very, very smart guy. He said, some people find it quick and they're like, oh, I'm going to be a dancer, and they're dancing their whole life, and then they're on TV, they're a professional dancer, whatever. Some people find it slow, but what he said, it's your responsibility to look. That's why what you shared with Ikigai and doing that test, it's your responsibility to look for where that sweet spot is for you. And then when you find it, that's all you do. But until then, it's like sports. What's your favorite sport? Well, I don't know. Try a bunch of sports. Do you like bike riding? Do you like running? Do you like cricket? Do you like basketball? Keep trying them. Keep trying them. That's
Yep.
why, like, for kids, like as parents out there, let your kids try as much stuff as possible until they find something that they're so into, they would do 24 hours a day, for the rest of their life, and they would love it. So let them, but that's what he said about whether it's your, like with fitness. He says he's not big into fitness, but he said, I need to have some type of workout and fitness routine to live a long, healthy life. So I got to keep experimenting and find something that I like to do. So I don't know if it's cricket, but he has a sport that he likes, and he has a certain cardio routine. I don't know if it's riding a bike or something. He experiments with a lot of stuff, and then found something that he really enjoys that gives him the fitness benefit, right? He did the same thing for work, right? He figured out that he's really good at investing in companies and seeing what they're doing and all this stuff, right? He's really good at that. It took him a while to get there, right? I think
Yeah.
he's in his mid 50s now or whatever, but he didn't get there overnight. But the point is he says it's your responsibility to keep learning, to keep
Yeah.
looking, look for your
Exploring. Right.
exploring. Yeah. And once you
Yeah.
find it, he said, that's all you want to do. Everything that once you find it, everything outside your sweet spot, let somebody else in your team do, someone else in your family do. He said, that's where it takes a lot of discipline. Don't go do all this stuff because you get to do 10% or 5% of your thing. Once you find your thing, he said, go all in. That's it.
I
It's,
think
it's
that is in order
great.
to encourage that, and I use that word after much thought. To encourage that is the job description of a parent and as a leader.
Yes. Love it, bro.
We have to encourage that. It gets me emotional sometimes thinking how little amount of encouragement that people need to
Yep.
do just what you just described.
Yep.
And I do remember about shout out to Bill Henderson. I have many, many, many favorite general managers and mentors, but he was my first general manager at Marriott. Also, shout out to Joe Massey, who was my first direct supervisor at that same hotel. Um, Bill is now retired. Joe's still very much in this business. But Bill Henderson changed the game a little bit at that particular hotel. It was a full service big Marriott, big convention type Marriott in Orlando. And he with the support of the owners and the management company and stuff, I would say they did away with um a significant number of line level management jobs. They
Mm,
eliminated those positions. They kept the people. They limited those positions and created a management training program where every single manager, and there was like 30, 40 probably, they had a different title and they worked in a different department for 6 months.
nice.
And I was a guest service manager at that time, and my job got eliminated. He goes, that job's no longer there. You're going to be director of catering.
Nice. Nice.
And I had only worked in restaurants and kitchens, and I had never been a director of any kind of banquet or catering.
Yeah.
And I said, what are you doing? Like, I didn't say this
Yeah.
literally, but I thought that. And over a short period of time, I learned that this is exactly what he was doing. What you
Yeah.
just laid out there,
Yeah.
that was the exploring.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Um, I was the chief engineer for a little. I was the director of security for 6 months.
Yeah.
I didn't like that, although I do like that role, but it was kind of boring to me. It was a lot of
Yeah.
walking around, and I learned a lot. But that was like I did 7 or 8 different jobs, man, and it
Yeah.
was he took that on, and that's what I always thought that he was amazing at. He lived this exploring, trial and error, giving
Yeah.
people an opportunity, and he was so encouraging, so encouraging. And it probably was like 2 or 3 sentences a week that I got to even talk to this guy. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like an everyday thing where we worked together. He was very high level, big hotel. But he would just say, "Hey, how's it going today?" And your new job or something like that. I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm going crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. And so that it does remind me of that. And that was 25, 26 years ago.
Yeah.
And I do find that to be the responsibility of a leader and a parent. And
I like that.
um, to kind of put that stuff, musical instruments. You don't like
Yeah.
piano? Try the piano. You like
Yeah.
guitar? Try guitar, drums. Yeah, that's pretty cool, bro. I like that, what you just said about all that.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. So I think you'd enjoy his book too, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
I just wrote it down.
It's
I'm gonna
it,
read it after, the Hidden Life of Trees, my new favorite,
yeah, your new favorite book.
yeah. We'll do another
Awesome,
episode about that. That's awesome, man.
awesome. That'll be great. Well, good
Hey, you
stuff, bro.
gotta go.
Yep.
I gotta go. Love to everyone. This was an awesome episode, bro. Thank you so much. This is really good. I don't know how I'm going to do the keywords to explain it, but I hope that people listen to it, not because it's you and me, but just it's really good information that people can listen to. And so I'm going to share it with everyone I know. And uh, thanks for looking at my beautiful face for an hour or so. I'm glad to
Yeah.
see yours.
Yeah, it's
All
great to
right,
see you, bro. Good stuff. Love you. Have a
love
good week.
you. See you guys later.
See
Thanks.
ya.